season 4, maybe, of Going Over Our Freds, the internet's only podcast. As always, across from me is Meredith.
And sitting across from me is Michael Kennedy.
And this season, another gimmick. Instead of just doing Fred Olen Ray directed movies, we are going to movies this season with Fred Olen Ray, the producer. And our very first episode is Fred Olen Ray acts as the executive producer. He also has a story by credit because he watched the movie Pumpkinhead and decided, let's make a movie like that.
Mm.
So, what movie did we watch today, Meredith?
We watched Jacko, which is a 1995 horror movie that really brought back that Halloween spirit here in springtime Chicago. Thank you, Michael.
Yep, we're recording this on Holy Saturday. So, I mean, we recorded Christmas episodes on Halloween and Thanksgiving, so might as well do a Halloween episode on Easter. So, sure, why not?
Yeah, perfect.
So Jacko is actually probably more famous or infamous than some of the other movies that we've done before. It's appeared on other bad movie podcasts. It's on an episode of Best of the Worst. It's notable for being the quote unquote final films of both John Carradine and Cameron Mitchell. Big asterisk in that. And it has another relatively famous aspect about it that we'll talk about at the end of the show. I would like to note the first thing about this movie is it gets its own title wrong in the title card. So, Meredith, how does Jacko start?
Okay, so we're in a campfire. We're out in the woods.
Uh-huh.
There's a little campfire. There is a man and a young boy, and their relationship isn't clear. It is not clarified until much later in the movie, but he starts telling the young boy, his name is Sean, he's our protagonist, a campfire spooky story. Who
Okay,
is
so
this man?
I don't remember who the man is. Like, because this movie introduced 100 characters to us,
Right.
and out of nowhere. So I don't even I remember the story, but I don't remember who is telling our
Our
I guess
protagonist.
our protagonist,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's Sean. So
Sean.
I wrote down later on in my notes, this is some random neighbor guy. And he tells the story, and I guess he was cast because he's got a distinctive laugh. So he's just like, it's the Pumpkin Man, and back in 1915, which a lot of people misconstrue as 100 years ago.
But this movie came out in 1995.
Right. So it's 80 years ago. It's not 100 years ago. It's not that far in the
They
past.
rounded up. You round to the nearest 100 years.
I
So
guess.
1960 was 100 years ago.
Right.
So wait, was this the like kind of chubby old white guy that
Yeah.
shows up for one scene at the end of the movie
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
laughs
He's like,
again?
yes.
Okay, yeah, because I completely blocked him out of my brain. But this is the start of Jacko, directed by Steve Latshaw. Steve Latshaw, we have seen a little bit before. Like, I think probably most notably, one of his unfinished movies was one of the movies they watched in Bikini Drive-In.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he's written movies for Fred Olen Ray and for Jim Wynorski. Like he wrote a couple of those direct to DVD movies where they steal action scenes from other movies and then just kind of plop them in there. You
Nice.
know, coincidentally, our protagonist, Sean Kelly, is played by an actor whose name is Ryan Latshaw. Uh,
Crazy.
I
What a
know.
coincidence.
And Ryan Latshaw appears in like 5 movies, 4 of which are directed by Steve Latshaw,
Mhm.
and one of which is directed by Fred Olen Ray and is called The Shooter. We've seen that one.
Yes.
So we've seen half of his filmography, give or take.
Okay. Sean did
No,
okay.
he did not. Okay.
Most of the movie he did okay.
On the scale of the other actors in the movie, sure, sure.
That is the scale. We are grading on well, I grade on a curve. And
But yeah,
we got to be nice to the kids even though he was born
he's even
in
though he's our age and
86. Yeah.
45 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
But not only does Ryan Ladshaw play Sean Kelly, he also plays David Kelly, and we flash back to our 1915. So we're back to the plot. Sorry.
He is the only actor, I guess, in this movie with a dual role. He was doing way more work than all the other people here, so it's okay. All right, back to 1915. We're, I guess, in the same general area of the country. but on a homestead, like a farm.
Yeah.
And in the town, there has been an incident. Past Sean, David, is witnessing his parents arguing. His mom's like spouting Bible quotes that I'm not familiar with. And then the dad is like, well, we have to go kill the evil thing. And later in the movie, it all kind of comes out. Basically, the dad and some other townspeople had tracked a guy down, hung him from a tree, and this guy, I guess, was a wizard or something, and he cursed the town. So his curse caused this pumpkin man to rise from hell and torment the townspeople. And the past kind of storyline ends with the dad dying but successfully burying the pumpkin man with
Yeah, he
some,
like
yeah.
pushes him into an open grave, and
Mhm.
there's a big rubber cross involved, and somehow that defeats the.
Rubber, come on, that was obviously two tree boughs nailed together in haste.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we've
Mhm.
got a wizard making a pumpkin monster who is possessed by a demon and
Well,
has
he like summons the demon,
what's the pumpkin monster? What is the pumpkin monster doing?
killing people indiscriminately.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll find that out when the pumpkin monster somehow returns through the power of light beer. So
I know, I've never seen that brand, but we'll get there. We
yeah,
will
yeah.
get there. All right, but back in the present, Sean wakes up as though he's waking up from a nightmare. So he's seeing the past in his dreams or visions, whatever you want to call it.
He's
He
seeing an
wakes,
old man tell him a story in his dreams.
yeah, exactly. And there's lightning flashing outside. He goes to the window. He sees a pumpkin man approaching, like, oh, it's so scary. And then he wakes up again. So now I'm like, I don't trust this movie. No trust. What are we watching here? One thing that I caught that just never really had a payoff is that Sean woke up in a bunk bed, but he's an only child.
Well, Talia had a bunk bed and she was an only child. I think that's just what they had available. This this movie was shot
Well, then why wouldn't he
very.
sleep in the top bunk? Did Talia sleep in the top?
She usually slept in the bottom and had her stuffies in the top, and sometimes she slept in the top. Like you
Oh,
switch it up.
okay.
But
All right.
yeah, I mean, this movie was shot very quickly with no money because the
Mhm.
executive producer was Fred Olen Ray. Our biggest star in the movie, who we will meet in hilarious fashion later, filmed for all of 3 days.
Love it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so we got a next morning. This is very much a Fred Olen Ray type of story, even though it was directed by somebody else, because we're meanwhiling all over the place,
Oh, yeah,
switching characters and storylines essentially randomly.
yeah.
Okay, great. So this is next morning. We have three kids. One of them is Sean. One of them is a bully named Robbie. One of them is a girl. I never caught her name.
Sarah, I believe her name is
Sarah.
Sarah.
Perfect.
Yeah, these are two actors who this is their only credit. Since there are like maybe 30 named characters in this movie,
Mhm.
and half of them, this is their only credit. And if they do have more credits, it's they're credited in Steve Latchaw's other two movies that were
Mhm.
executive produced by Fred Olen Ray. It's a whole trilogy of movies, basically.
Oh, that's incredible. So that makes me think that these kids lived on the block.
Probably, yeah.
All right.
It is a very small town they're seemingly filming in because
Mhm.
the graveyard, the playground, the haunted garage,
Yep.
all seem to be within spitting distance of each other.
Well, the pumpkin is essentially everywhere all at once, so they do need to be within about a 6 foot radius.
Yeah, yeah. That pumpkin man doesn't move very fast.
Yes. Okay, so these three kids are walking to school and they're passing like really like a copious amount of jack-lanterns. I really liked this.
It's
There's
it's a very
jack-lanterns everywhere.
it's a very Halloweeny feeling movie. I didn't write it down, but I feel like this movie was made in like April or something like that, and they just bought a bunch of pumpkins and put them all over their yards in Florida to make it look like Halloween.
This part of the scene, like A plus, the trees were green and lush, so that's a
Yeah,
negative F minus.
but there's also palm trees in the background, so it's
Yeah, it's somewhere.
yeah. It- they're not going to have a real fall anyway.
Right. Okay, so Robbie makes up the idea of a witch because he's just like needling the other two. You're like, okay, great, a witch. So a new character, we learn that her name is Vivian Mackin. She drives up the road and parks her car And then the kids are like, oh no, a witch. Robbie starts throwing rocks in the general vicinity of the car.
Yeah, he's throwing rocks at the car, but because it's a no budget production, they don't want to dent the car. They land, what, like a foot in front of her car door, as though somebody just off screen is dropping them. They run away, and then Vivian Mackin, who's an actor named Catherine Walsh, who
Mm-hmm.
is actually an Irish stage actor. The thing I most appreciated
Mm-hmm.
about this scene is I was getting a lot of like early 90s nostalgia from this whole thing. There's a lot of women that are dressed like they should be on Seinfeld. But what got me here is her car had those automatic seat belts that they don't make anymore. Do you remember that where
Yeah,
they
yeah, I
would,
do.
yeah, they would go and they would sit, you would get in the seat and then it would go and like go back
Mm-hmm.
over your shoulder from the front. And like if you didn't buckle the lap belt, I think you could get decapitated by those things, which is probably why they don't make them anymore.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
it was like you had no choice but to have at least the shoulder strap part of the seatbelt.
What did
So
they do in New Hampshire during this period of time?
I don't think New Hampshire bought those cars, or you can actually unbuckle a lot of those anyway. So
Wow.
you're not required to not wear a seatbelt in New Hampshire.
It kind of seems like you are.
You've been listening to those porcupines again, huh?
Okay. So Vivian's in the picture now. She like walks Sean home, meets the family. She's like, "Oh, I love spook houses because Sean's parents do a fundraiser every year. They turn their garage into a little haunted house. They charge a couple bucks for the kids to walk through. And throughout this movie, they call it a spook house, but in the parlance of the people who do this, it's called a haunt. So I'm probably just going to call it a haunt, even though it's not mentioned in the movie.
I don't think they'll mind.
Yeah, we don't spend a whole lot of time in the haunt, even though those are very cheap and easy to put up, but we talk a lot about it. We see a little bit of it. But Vivian's wormed her way into the family life, like you do.
And I would call Vivian's makeup as unfortunate.
It didn't
Like,
suit her, no.
yeah, and everyone has this like, extra frizzy 90s hair too. Like
That's
everyone
called
looks a
a
little
perm.
everyone looks pretty rough, is all I'm saying.
Here, what you're seeing on the Zoom here, this is frizz.
Oh,
What
that's
they had
Frizz.
was a perm.
So that was intentional.
Yes, it was intentional. They worked really hard to get their hair like that.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so
But
she's wormed her way in. She's like, "There's a connection between our families. We're doing genealogy." And you're like, "Okay, whatever,
yeah,
no big
a
deal."
100 years ago, your family
Hmm.
killed my family.
Yeah, yeah, and we're all still in the same town because nobody ever moved for work.
Well, I think she's coming back
Yeah, that's right. That's
all
right.
the way from Ireland. She doesn't have an accent or anything like that.
Mm-mm.
She's passably American.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, so her great great grandfather or whatever is the aforementioned wizard or witch or sorcerer or whatever the heck he's
Yes,
supposed to be.
yes,
And then Sean is like the fifth generation kid after either that kid or that kid's dad who kills the pumpkin monster.
yes.
All right, so this is all the important backstory we need.
So the pumpkin monster has laser sights on Sean because of that lineage.
Yeah, yeah, but the pumpkin monster is thankfully still asleep right now. He won't be waking up, right?
Yeah, why did she come back this year?
Yeah, there was no part of the destiny. It just seemed to be a coincidence that they also woke up the pumpkin monster, or maybe it was a coincidence that those kids were there. And by kids, I
Huh.
mean 25-year-olds,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, I mean, adolescence is lasting longer and longer.
even in
Huh.
the 90s.
I didn't think about that while I was watching the movie. It's better for, to not think while watching.
Yeah,
But yeah, here we are.
especially this movie.
You know, the three named teenagers, Brett, Shannon, and Paul. They drive up in a truck to a sort of field. Their goal is to drink beer. This beer is Ham's Light. Have you ever seen Ham's Light in your life?
I feel like my mind is saying yes, but I'm thinking Amstel Light probably, but I,
Mm-hmm,
I I couldn't tell you. I don't imagine they made their own beer though, because it's a cheap nothing Florida but no budget thing. So
It's
probably a real
incredible.
beer. Yeah.
Yeah, Frank not infrequently like picks up Ham's Light when it's summertime because, excuse me, just regular Ham's because it is essentially a light beer that is nice to drink in hot weather.
Oh, okay. So it's a real beer, huh?
Ham's is real.
Okay.
I've just never seen Ham's Light. It just must be like water.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. But the
Okay.
teens are looking for an old cemetery. It's not clear where the cemetery is. I guess there's old growth. They decide to search the woods on foot. They've got flashlights. Thank goodness they're not total idiots.
Meredith, why are they looking for the old cemetery?
Uh, because I don't know. It's Halloween. They're drinking, right? They're
Were the
teens.
were the three of them going to make out?
Oh, you know what's going on? She thinks that they're friends, and both of the boys think that they're competing for her.
Okay, so this is Meredith subtext because TMCR.
Well, because when you're a teenager, and although, yes, they are in their 20s, but when you're a teenager, sometimes it's not always clear. And like one person might not be as emotionally, sexually mature as others, and there can be miscommunications.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so they're stumbling around. They find the graves of the 1915 characters, and they're like, "Yay, we have found things." Brett finds a big scythe, scythe,
Yeah.
scythe, and Paul finds this big homemade cross that is absolutely boughs of wood.
It's not a big rubber cross. Okay, so a little spoiler. I listened to parts of the commentary track of this movie, which is
Mm.
relatively famous.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Latchaw's like, yeah, we used this rubber because it was pretty good. It was all we could afford at the time.
Yeah.
And Fred Olen Ray was like, I mean, yeah, but why did you use that? And he's like, well, we had no money. We had no time to do anything else. That's all we could afford. And Fred Olen Ray's like, why didn't you just use real sticks? Highly recommend that commentary track. We'll be
So they're
mentioning it
not
again.
friends.
Oh, they're friends, but they are also let's just say it is a famously contentious commentary track. So,
Amazing. Okay. Okay. We meanwhile ourselves back to Sean.
of course, why not?
He's at home. His parents are winding down for the night. They're kind of prepping for Halloween, which is tomorrow. Yay, we're almost at the action. This is where we learn a little bit more context about the haunted house, the haunt that they're creating. And they plan to hire a babysitter to watch Sean on Halloween night while they're running the haunt.
Yeah, Sean's like what, 12 or 13 years old.
Yeah.
So eventually they're going to have two babysitters watch him
Yeah.
while he's either in their house or on the block trick-or-treating. Okay, hold on. But did we skip the part where Vivian walks into Sean's room and she's like, "Your parents tell me your favorite show is on." And so we cut to his favorite show, which is footage of Cameron Mitchell that
Yes.
had previously appeared in the movie Demon Cop in 1991 and was probably filmed for some other project in the late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of this movie, the beginning credits show special appearances by, and this is where our special appearances show up. So because Cameron Mitchell died in 94, this movie came out in 95.
Mm-hmm.
So he's playing a horror host Svengoolie type. And then they're showing clips of just, I assume, recycled footage from other movies.
Yeah.
The first of which features our friend Dawn Wildsmith, ex Mrs. Fred Olen Ray, as a sorceress, which just means she is on the TV for 5 seconds. She's on the TV in the movie
Yeah.
for 5 seconds, and she gets a special end credit plate dedicated to that part. And then there's a whole nother bit where not a sorceress, but a witch is played by Brink Stevens, who shows up in half of our movies here. And basically, it's just Brink Stevens wandering around in a cloak to make sure we fill out that 85-minute runtime of Jacko.
I mean, we saw the same sequence a couple times in the movie.
Yeah, yeah, but
Yes.
it's his favorite show. This show that I guess shows the same movie every night.
When we get all
Sure,
these
why not?
amazing shots of in up close on Sean's face of him watching TV.
It really adds to the story. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, that's right. That is absolutely right. And then we got to my husband's favorite part of this movie.
Oh, okay. So we see motorcycle guy and sister first, right?
Yes, motorcycle guy's name is Jim. Sister's name is Julia.
I wasn't watching that closely, and I
Hmm.
was like, "Oh, these are those kids from the cemetery. One of them has a motorcycle now." And I'm like, "No, no, these are different people."
Completely different people.
And they're like, "Where's your sister?" and we are introduced to the sister just mid-shower scene.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's
And you know
like
what I found to be the most realistic part of this shower scene as a woman who takes showers is that she had tons of jewelry on.
yeah.
Necklace, yes. Rings, multiple. An enormous bracelet with all sorts of nooks and crannies to get wet.
And then
Yes.
okay, stop talking about her enormous stuff and her nooks and crannies, okay? Uh, of course, this is the scene that Jen looks at the TV while I'm watching it, and she's like, "What
Mhm,
is this? What is this?" And I'm like,
mhm,
and I tell her, "This is our introduction to this character. We have not seen her before." So we cut back to the couple on the bicycle, and then cut back to the shower scene for another like what, 35 seconds or something like
mhm.
that.
Awkwardly long, yes.
It's it's just so matter of fact too. And the rest of the movie feels like it could be an episode of Goosebumps or like an Are You Afraid of the Dark situation. And all of a sudden, we just have naked. It's Linnea Quigley. So if you have Linnea Quigley in your movie, people are going to be sad if she's not naked.
I guess.
But yeah, it was just out of nowhere, and it's just the most
Hmm.
hilarious introduction to a character you could possibly have.
It had nothing to do with the
Well, we
character. Like, she didn't have super shower powers. She didn't need to get naked to like fight off the monster.
she wasn't like particularly vulnerable to the monster at any point. In fact,
Right.
she gets attacked by the monster and has no is no worse for the wear by the end of the movie.
Like,
Like
she gets maybe a concussion.
maybe, yeah.
Okay, so moving on from my husband's favorite part of the movie. I guess, yeah, we have to like learn that Carolyn has a Halloween party to go to. She doesn't want to babysit Sean, so she's like, "Oh, I'll bring my sister Julia and foist Sean off on Julia for the latter part of the evening." So that's why everybody has to be back in the movie later.
It's really important that we introduce all these characters.
It's so important. Meanwhile, Sean is back in Dreamland or Visionland in 1915. This is just like so it's set up to be important, but it's not. He witnesses his ancestor put Jacko in the grave in a very like particular way, which you'd think would be like, oh wow, maybe he'll
I mean,
use that knowledge for the future, but he doesn't.
yeah, like we have to do it this way or else it's not going to work. But it's just, yeah,
Yeah,
basically it's falling into the grave seems to work.
it's just it's such a waste of time.
But this is when he runs into the wizard, right?
Yeah, and the wizard says some stuff. He says he's the judge of the hill, and that he's
Uh,
like
okay,
condemned Sean's parents, and Sean has to save them.
okay,
Sean does not have to save them.
but more importantly here, we have a shot on film in 1993 picture of our friend Sean is the main, yeah, Sean Kelly,
Yeah.
who's talking off screen to nobody. And then a reverse shot on videotape from 1985 with a completely different color temperature of David Carradine, who had died, I think, in 87,
Mhm.
like almost a decade before this film came out, just doing random lines about anything. And
Yeah.
they're trying to like shove it into the movie because, I assume it was Fred Olen Ray had this footage in a drawer that he shot of John
Mm.
Carradine.
Hmm.
We also have a picture of John Carradine in Vivian's book. She's got like a book of like family history or something
Right.
like that.
Yep.
And I feel like this might be the third time we've seen a picture of John Carradine like that because we had one on the wall of the Bikini Drive-In because he was the old owner of the drive-in. It's like every scrap of I knew John Carradine that Fred Olen Ray can use, he uses.
Or was this wizardy judge of the hill the actual owner of that drive-in? Are these
Oh, oh
movies tied
man.
together? Is it the same cinematic universe?
I mean, I don't think that drive-in movie took place in 1915, but
Maybe,
but he is
maybe
a
it did.
wizard, so I
Yeah,
mean, maybe he got unstuck in time.
right. We just haven't seen the whole cinematic universe situation. We're watching these things out of order. We don't even know it.
But yeah, it's just an amazing scene where they did
Yeah.
not bother to match up anything. Godfrey Ho would be proud. Yes, amazing, amazing.
Well, we are going to meanwhile ourselves all the way back to the makeshift cemetery where those teens are cracking fresh beers.
Sure.
They are near where Jacko is imprisoned in a grave. and I guess they jostle something. So Jacko gets out of the grave.
Yeah,
Hooray!
I think the one kid might have pulled the rubber cross out of the ground.
Yeah, the cross was like in the grave in a like weird sort of like this is the key in the lock situation kind of way. So yes.
I watched this movie like 2 days ago, and I already can't remember what these kids look like. So the one that pulls the
Mhm.
cross out of the ground in my head looks like the three kids from Better Call Saul that help him film all of his commercials. So like the audio kid is pulling it out, and the other two guys,
Mhm.
the other two are
Mhm.
making out.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we get our second or third appearance of boobs, depending on how you count the shower scene. She pulls it
No, no,
back
no.
up.
You're confusing this with like Julia later in the movie.
Oh, is that?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
is that the motorcycle one?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
God damn!
It's
Yeah,
okay.
these characters are so richly drawn. It's hard.
How could you even tell the difference? This scene was like really frustrating because you've got like Jacko, he's rising, he's like, it's his first appearance, and he takes his scythe and nicks one of their throats a little bit lightly, a little bit of a nick.
Yeah, it doesn't even like shoot out blood or anything impressive. I think at one point it has kind of like one of those SNL rigs where the blood shoots out of your wrist and
Yeah.
like they held their head on like that. But
Yep, yep,
like
yep. There's so
the
many people holding their throats.
the kills in this are pretty lame all in all.
It was, yeah, yeah, very, very sad. Vivian's nearby, so she's attracted to the murder noise.
She's like, what's that? So I will note that even though we don't see his face, Patrick
Mhm.
Moran is credited as Jack or Jack O'Lantern as he's called
Oh,
in the
yeah.
credits. Oh, and we didn't mention, yeah, the title card misprint is that the movie is called Jack O, and then Lantern shows up at the bottom, even though the movie is only called Jacko and every other thing. He actually is the credited writer of the screenplay of this movie,
So
and
he was
he
the
is
perfect
also
choice for this, right?
it's a
That,
perfect choice for the
yeah,
part.
okay,
Yeah, I
got
mean, I
it.
assume
Yeah.
he was tall and skinny. But he also wrote another movie. He's one of the credited writers on another movie we've done on this podcast.
Oh,
And
really?
even though he's only written like three movies, and that is Direwolf.
Oh my
We cannot escape Direwolf.
God. This is starting to make more sense now.
It all comes together. Yeah, this is a little incestuous community. So,
The whole meanwhiling, the monster being very capricious in choice of kills.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't
Yeah.
even been introduced to the first character that the monster's like watching, then wanders away to a different house, and then comes back to.
It's incredibly frustrating. It's not building tension or anything.
No, it's not. It's just kind of like
Just
he's just
so, so bad.
indecisive. He's an
Right.
indecisive monster.
Okay, so this is at night. This is still the night before Halloween. The teens have resurrected Jacko. Jacko has murdered the teens. Vivian is like, "Oh, look, dead teens." The next day, it's Halloween morning. Yay, we're finally at Halloween. Nothing else happened overnight. It's just Halloween now.
Well, the monster was just standing outside everybody's house, like, I wonder if I should kill them. No, I don't know. Maybe I won't. Who knows?
What's happening? Okay, now it's Halloween. Okay, Carolyn and Julia, for reasons unknown, show up at Sean's house in the morning to say
Yeah.
hi, I guess. And they're all on the motorcycle or whatever. Anyway, so Sean's like, oh, wow, a motorcycle. And Jim, the motorcycle driver, says, like, oh, hop on, I'll give you a ride. And he like gives Sean a ride like down the block, inside of the house. Both of his parents flip the fuck out.
And you get to understand why he needs a babysitter, even though he's 13 years old and they're going to be in the house.
Yes.
Oh, I haven't mentioned Tom Ferda plays
Yes.
Jim. This guy was a part of Armageddon and a part of Contact,
Mm.
but as an on-set medic. So,
So
but
in a
like,
way, he was the perfect choice to give a young actor a ride on a
yeah, because
motorcycle.
I mean, in case he fell off, he was ready.
Well, Jim's got the best death in the movie, which we'll get to shortly.
Yeah, the only good death in the movie, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that happens.
This is the ultimate so that happens movie. Every
Yeah.
scene in this movie is like, well, something's got to happen in this movie.
So we learn a little bit more backstory right here. I think you and I have already gotten to that backstory. Like,
Yeah.
all right, so we're good. We know why Jacko's around. We know Jacko's motivation. We know that.
We know Jacko's around, but we don't know Jacko's motivation.
Oh,
Like,
okay, okay.
I guess in the broadest sense of the term, Jacko wants to kill Sean because the prophecy is that only Sean will be able to kill Jacko.
Hmm.
But he doesn't really seem to have any goals outside of that, and he doesn't really seem to. There's no scene where he's like in Terminator looking at the phone book for Sean Kelly or anything like
Right.
that. He's just kind of like, maybe this guy is Sean. I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe this lady is Sean.
All ages, everybody. You could be Sean.
But we're like an hour into the movie, and
Yeah.
he's like, he's just did the lamest kills on those three teenagers, and
Hmm.
we built nothing, and nothing is happening, and what the
Hmm.
fuck? Yeah.
So I was very excited when it was finally trick or treating time, and
Uh-huh.
we don't follow Sean trick or treating. Why would we follow
Nope.
Sean trick or treating? That would be stupid. It's his friends slash bullies from earlier. They knock at the door of a pair of miserable assholes.
Oh, right, we get our Republican characters who are watching like a fake Rush Limbaugh
Hmm.
talking about how you know, if you like the poor, you're not a real American, and
He was like, "We got to do something about the liberals." Like the talking points are identical to
yeah,
the ones now. Yeah, it was
and it's
interesting.
presented as parody, but it's not even parody at this
No.
point. It's just like the government doesn't pay me any money. Why should I pay income taxes? And then the wife of this couple who is British for some reason is like, that's what I've been saying all along. It's like, okay, sure, sure. And I
Yep.
guess that guy owns the local grocery store,
Mm.
and he yells at his wife for leaving the porch light on Halloween, goes and yells at the fucking kids for like,
Hmm.
I sell food for a living. Unless you want to pay me money, I'm not giving you anything. Uh, so then he leaves, does not turn off the porch light,
Nope.
uh, where these kids they have like two rolls of toilet paper and manage to like create perfect streams of toilet paper down that guy's front.
Now that's some talented work, which we could have
Yeah.
spent a little bit more time looking at that instead of Sean watching the TV. Just a thought.
But so then he runs back out and sees the toilet paper draped perfectly on his front porch,
Hmm.
and Jacko's watching, and Jacko just decides to leave.
Right.
Well, he's got places to be, you know.
Like the woods, I think is like he's like there standing, and then the next time we see him, he's like deep in the woods, and then the next time we see him, he's like on the playground. It's so that's why I said earlier, like the town has to be the size of a
It's
black hole.
it's the town is the size of Vatican City. It is 0.14 square miles or 0.41. I don't know. It's
So let's wrap up with the miserable assholes because I don't want to come back to them. Like
okay. Okay.
we
So yeah,
meanwhile all the hell out of this.
yeah. So after Jacko wanders around a little bit, he eventually comes back to the Republicans,
Hmm.
where it's very important that British wife is making toast and cutting it into like French toast sticks for some reason. But she gets shocked by touching the side of the toaster because the toaster's on the fritz.
Yes.
And then her husband answers the door. Why does he go to the door? I don't
Oh, he
remember.
hears something because some other teens, like a new crew of three teens,
Oh, a different
they
three-teen crew. Yeah.
different three teens take off one of his car's hubcaps
Oh, right,
and throws it at
right.
the tree. So he hears that. So he's like, "What are these kids up to?" And he's outside of the house.
Why are they taking off my H? That's how people know it's a Honda. Yeah, so he goes out and wanders in the woods, and then Jacko disembowels him. And
He
British,
okay, all right, but so you'd think this guy's got a scythe, so he might do like a sweeping side to side motion to disembowel him, but he does not. He takes this like blunt edge of this particular scythe and stabs this guy.
yeah, he's got like a 6 foot like reach, and never really takes advantage of anything. Like you can't get a full swing, or it's
I
terrible.
was so mad about it. I was like,
Then British lady looks out and sees Jacko and her husband dead. Maybe, I don't know. It's really hard to tell what she
mhm,
sees.
mhm,
So she wanders back into her kitchen and, in the process of grabbing a butter knife for self-defense,
mhm,
slips on her kitchen rug,
mhm.
sticks the knife into the toaster, and electrocutes herself to death.
Yes. So this is where the special effects budget went because we see
Yeah.
lightning shooting all over the place.
Well, and she becomes like a shriveled skull, basically, too.
Somebody had a prop.
And Jacko just watches this happen. He's like, "Oh, okay. I guess I can leave."
My work here is done.
But you didn't do anything. Didn't I? Like, if Jacko had Final Destination powers this entire time, this would be a much better movie.
It was so out of place. And then I was thinking, I was like, okay, this movie was 1995. When did Final Destination like first come out? And I think it came out like 2 or 3 years after this.
Yeah, I want to say like it would come out before like 98, I don't think. So,
Around then, yeah. Yeah. I
yeah.
was just, oh my gosh. Did Final Destination watch Jacko and was like, this one death, let's do that over and over again.
New Final Destination this year, I think I'm gonna have to see it in the theaters.
You're kidding.
Yeah, there's a new one. Look
But
at
they
we've
wrapped it
only
up. They wrapped it
we've
up.
because the last one was a prequel, it was a secret
Yes.
prequel to the first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like people still die, so you have to have weird Rube Goldberg deaths. What's great about
Right,
Final
right.
Destination movie is it's essentially a dead teenager movie, and the best one is when there aren't dead teenagers, they're all 20. The Final Destination 2 is the best one by far,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I will die on that hill.
Well, we'll see when the new one comes out. You might have a new favorite.
I might, probably not, but it'll
It'll be
probably be a
Final
bunch of
Destination, the middle-aged audience that went to see the first movie in the theaters.
it's gonna be like terrible, unconvincing CGI and half-assed shit, probably. But I don't even look up who directed it. Maybe it's somebody great, probably not. So
Maybe it's Fred Olen Ray. You don't know.
it's like I
All right.
get to this Final Destination sequel. I need a budget of $100,000.
He's got all sorts of footage and props. He can make it happen.
Starring John Carradine and Cameron Mitchell. That's right, Cameron Mitchell, star of cowboy films from the 50s and every bad movie of the 80s.
The haunt begins. We've got a garage. It's open for business. Carolyn and Julia have arrived to babysit Sean. Finally, we might have something happen in this movie. Like, I mean, like something exciting because those prior deaths were not. Well, Julie gets out of it because she's like, oh, I need to use the bathroom. So she crawls out the window and runs away with her boyfriend on the motorcycle, leaving Carolyn alone to babysit Sean and miss her Halloween party. Oh no. The world is cruel and unfair.
Such high stakes, man. I was really looking forward to this Halloween party.
So Julie and Jim ride into the woods, and this is the scene that you thought happened earlier because
Oh
they're
yeah, here's
making
where
out.
we get our second boobs. Yeah.
Yep, 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 yep. So she's like sort of strip teasing. It just seems like so unnatural. Like they do like an up close shot, and then there's a little bit of a further away shot where Jim is just kind of like respectfully standing by, watching Julie gyrate in a very unappealing manner. Anyway, she senses something. We know as the audience that it's Jacko, but she doesn't. She hasn't seen it. She's just like, somebody's here. Somebody's here.
Yeah,
So
she pulls her top back up, which he doesn't like.
exactly. Sexy time is over. And Jim's like, fuck this, fuck you, fuck everything. I'm out. He drives away on the motorcycle and leaves her there. So that's great.
Yeah, he's like, find your own way home.
Yep.
I I just realized that there were Jules and Jim, which is a 1962 French New Wave movie. Which
Julia and Jim.
Jules and Jim.
Jules and Jim is the movie.
Yeah, that's the name of the movie. It's
Oh,
yeah, it's a Francois Truffaut, and that feels I don't know. Does Fred Olen Ray? He loves old monster movies and stuff like that. I don't know if he's a fan of French New Wave. Maybe Patrick
maybe,
Moran is. I don't know.
maybe, maybe the characters got to name themselves,
Oh, maybe.
and that pair had like we're like, ah, who are we? Who are we? And one of them had just seen Jules and Jim.
This is now my headcanon. So this
Yeah.
is actually a remake of of Truffaut's classic film.
Oh my goodness. So
Crappy.
she's just, alone with a monster. But fear not, because Jacko has already left the woods. Julia is not in danger.
Maybe he I was gonna say maybe he doesn't want to kill the women because he knows he's got to kill the boy,
No,
but
he
he
already
kills that
killed the
first
teen.
woman.
Mhm.
But maybe that was in self-defense. She was
She
coming right
was
for
running
him.
away from him.
She was coming right for him. He's got bad depth perception.
Oh, he's a member of the police force, or like what are we saying
Oh,
here?
comply, comply. You could hear Jacko saying that the entire time.
Yes. Oh my goodness. All right. So the haunt is open, and we've got a line of children waiting to pay a couple bucks and see the spookies.
Including Robbie and Sarah, who are our
Yes.
kid actors of the movie.
Yes, exactly. They're at the front of the line. Jacko, of course, is inside the garage and nobody saw him get in. That's awesome. He was
Well,
just in the woods, so he
it's not like
magically got
it's
into
not like there's a crowd of people out there waiting
right.
to get in the garage. Like,
Correct. And garage is famous for having one entrance and exit
there's a side door, probably.
on the inside of the house. It's one of those types of places. The house is
Okay.
connected to the garage and there's that like door. Okay, but he's in there. Okay, yay.
And pumpkin monsters are famously good at opening doors. People
So
don't know
good.
that.
All right, so the haunt is structured uh in such a way where like the kids are going through and they see kind of a display and it's like reach your hand in the hole and like you'll like touch eyeballs and the eyeballs are peeled grapes.
Yeah, yeah, that sort of
So
thing.
so Robbie puts his hand through the hole in the display and Jack goes behind there and he like grabs Robbie's wrist. So of course the kid is like very, very scared. Both of them, Robbie and Sarah, flee screaming. They are truly, truly scared.
So that's when the bully learns his lesson, and the rest of the movie he's scared, right?
No.
Oh, okay. So
Mhm.
it's like this movie was edited out of order.
They continue trick-or-treating. He's like,
Yeah, they just
they're on
continue
a mission.
trick-or-treating like nothing happened.
They need that candy. All right, so Jacko, bored now,
Yeah.
walks through the house and goes
And
back to the woods, and nobody sees him do it. Meanwhile, on the road near the woods, there's an electrician kind of guy who's working on the lines
oh, he's a
outside.
he's a cable guy.
Oh, cable guy. Okay.
He's a cable guy, and that is our director cameo.
Because cable guys are always working at
Halloween night.
night
Yeah,
on
they work
Halloween.
Halloween nights. Yep, all the time.
Great.
Because I was gonna
Awesome.
say the cable was out for the Republican couple, but they were said no, we don't get cable because that's a
Mhm.
tool of the liberal media. We don't want that.
That's
So
right. Yes. This wasn't set up. He's just there.
yeah, he's just kind of there, and then Julia runs into him.
Yes. Oh, no,
What
no,
is the
no.
mother?
We skipped some stuff. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
because
we meanwhile ourselves back to the woods.
right, right.
Julie's boyfriend, Jim, he's riding back into the woods. He scares the trick-or-treaters because like they're not scared enough from their encounter with Jacko in the haunt. They run away. He
Yeah.
finds Julie. He's like, "Are you still mad at me?" And she's like, "No, we're fine." Because fine. Toxic relationships abound.
Yeah.
Now Jim hears something in the woods and he goes to investigate. Lo and behold, it's our first like kind of like real standoff with Jacko. Or do I think that because the death was interesting?
Well, yeah, because Jim's like, "Hey, mother," that's exactly what he said. And Jacko just decides to chop his head off, and we actually get a
Mhm.
decapitation.
Yep.
It is a no budget decapitation. So they've got a passable fake head,
Yep.
and then they've got somebody with padded up shoulders, putting their arms where their head should be, and it doesn't
Mhm.
linger or anything, so it doesn't look too embarrassing, but
Yeah.
it does look like something you might see on like a TikTok nowadays. So
It was like the best death of the
it
movie. It
was
was
the best death of the movie. Yeah.
100%. So Julia hightails it out of there. She
Yeah,
like
and
catches the head and she's like, uh-uh.
she's like, ah, and she just sets the head down and then runs into the arms of the cable man
Exactly.
and gets him
Yes.
killed immediately.
She had nothing to do with that. She got into the cab of the truck and she's like, get in, let's go. Cable guy's
Yeah.
like, what? A woman saying something? I don't understand. Does not compute. So he gets a nick in the throat.
Yeah, so like Jacko comes up behind him and basically uses the end of his scythe like a knife and gently touches his throat,
Yes.
which causes him to hold his throat and go ah and like
Hmm.
slump on the side of his truck. Even though he is not an actor and just a director, Steve Latshaw is about the same as every other actor in this movie.
Yes. Yeah, 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 yeah. So Julie runs away because I guess the truck, she can drive it. I've never
Sure,
been
why
in a
not?
cable guy truck, so maybe there's like stuff going on that was
It's
indecipherable.
it's usually just a regular truck if it's a standard transmission, if she knows how to drive a standard. It's not like it's a semi.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know. So she gets out and runs. Meanwhile,
Oh yeah, meanwhile.
meanwhile,
You could literally say any scene and I'll have no idea what happens
because
next in
it
this
doesn't
movie.
have any connective tissue.
No.
Okay. All right. So
We haven't seen our main character in like
no,
25 minutes. Like,
correct. But now we do. because
Okay.
Jacko wanders and randomly comes across Carolyn and Sean. Carolyn has been escorting Sean on a trick or treating journey that we have not gotten to see.
No. We followed
Yes.
Robbie and Sarah.
Yeah,
We followed his bullies.
exactly. So Carolyn does like a true, like what a babysitter or any adult caretaking a child should do. She distracts Jacko, keeps Jacko's attention on her while Sean runs away. So she
Oh,
does a really good job. Mhm.
this is the playground confrontation,
Yes, it
right?
is. Yes.
And instead of just running away, they run through the playground bars for no reason.
To, because Jacko will, of course, follow her every step and then get entangled.
Exactly, yeah. Like, what is Jacko like backhander or something? Like, because she's
Yeah,
completely fine. She just kind of falls over because she's the star of our movie in
exactly.
terms of
So
star power.
whereas everybody else gets, lightly nicked in the throat and immediately dies, she gets like hit in the head and is knocked unconscious. Yes.
Although she seemingly knocked unconscious for several hours, so she
Yeah.
probably has traumatic brain
Yes,
injury.
exactly. But she is a hero in this movie. She did what she could to ensure the safety of the child. Anyway, it doesn't work. Sean flees to the miserable asshole's house because the door is wide open. No, nobody
Oh yeah,
seems
and
to have
he
noticed the dead body in the yard and the cooked flesh smell coming from the house.
yeah, and he sees the like shrunken skeleton of British lady.
Yes,
And
and he's
then
hiding.
okay. I was like, then something
Yeah.
happens probably, but I
No,
don't
he
remember.
hides and Jack goes like in the doorway for a bit and he's like beckoning to Sean and I was like, "Oh, maybe there's something no, no. That was nothing. That was random."
Okay, not to
Yeah.
go back too far, but like this
Hmm.
is a movie that you really have to watch with friends to really appreciate what's happening. Because, for instance, during the shower scene we were talking about,
Hmm.
we cut back and forth between the shower and the couple on the bike outside.
Yeah.
And after, like, the first time we cut away from the shower, they're sitting on the bike and we hear a dog barking. And Jim says, "It sounds like your sister's phone is ringing." And this entire movie, I'm like, what? It feels like Troll 2, except everyone in this movie is an American.
Hmm. Hmm.
And there's really no excuse for everybody to be acting like this. Like, this is not translated from Italian and back into English. What is happening?
You don't know. What if it
I
was?
guess, I guess in a la Troll 2, we do have our main character going, no,
Pretty soon. Yeah,
no,
let's get there.
pretty soon. Yeah, let's
Yep.
get there.
All right. This is the point where Vivian's like, Jacko is attracted to Sean. I've been using him as bait, which doesn't make sense because nobody knew that Jacko would be resurrected tonight. Who cares? Vivian also remembers this childhood rhyme that has randomly been repeated throughout the movie, and she's like, "Oh, I know where they're going." So basically, like Sean has been
The
taken by
rhyme never
Jacko.
lies.
It's just like it's some sort of like folk history, but the rhymes change in the telling from generation to
Well,
generation.
now this was the rhyme that proves it's true, and this was filmed around 94. So I think the
Mhm.
rhyme was, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. I think that's what the rhyme was. I can't remember exactly. Might have had a pumpkin word in there somewhere. But yeah, that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's about
yeah.
right. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay, so now we have a few things in play.
Oh yeah, so okay, no. So we missed an important fake out
Oh yeah.
death.
Yeah.
Because so Sean, we set up before that their door sticks in the most unconvincing fashion of the Kelly household.
Yes, yes.
So then we see Sean runs to his house, uh, and like they can't get the door open because the door is conveniently sticking again.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we see Sean's hand on the glass and then splatter of red.
Yeah.
But that was previously set up when he was trick-or-treating with Linnea Quigley because one house only got him a juice. So then we find out that
Oh,
that was really juice there and that Sean isn't really dead. Jacko has just taken him hostage
yes.
for some reason, even though he wants to just kill him. Jacko takes him hostage and then forces him to lay down in a grave where he limply uses his scythe as a shovel
Hmm.
and sprinkles, I don't know, about half of a cup of dirt on him at a time
Yes.
while Sean is laying in the dirt saying, no,
That's
no,
verbatim. Oh
no.
my God, Michael, you should be in these movies.
That's pretty good, huh? I will note that Steve Latshaw did not want to bury his kid because he wasn't full on into being a full teenager yet. So he did just stick fake legs into some dirt when we see the close up of fake legs sticking out of the dirt.
I don't understand why the hesitation based on it. He was old
Oh,
enough to know
because
that he wasn't being buried for real.
no, but when your kid is 16, you want to throw dirt on him.
I
No,
wouldn't
I
know.
kid. I always had a good relationship with my teenager, but some would say so.
Some would say. Some
Some
would
would
say.
say.
Okay, but Vivian and Sean's parents are in pursuit.
And they know that they're only going to be, 15 feet away at the gravesite.
Yeah, it takes him a really long time to get there compared to how instantaneous Jacko's travels have been throughout this movie.
Well, you know how fast 12-year-olds who are being directed to go travel. So how
I
could you possibly
guess.
keep up with that?
Oh, all right. So, yeah. Anyway, here we are. Vivian and company arrive.
The dramatic
Uh,
conclusion.
but yeah, Jacko stabs her for because he loves using the scythe to stab, even though he knows through experience that beheading is easier.
Okay, yeah, but this is the second best death of the movie because he like sicks the scythe into her belly basically, and then lifts her up into the air, and it's the
Mhm.
most wonderful dummy on a stick you've ever seen. And he like throws her up against the tree, and like she lays on the tree and is dead.
Yeah, immediate. Her
Yeah,
life had no
so
purpose.
no, it's
Yeah. Yep.
my
Yep.
job here is done.
Yep. 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 We have a flashback for no fucking reason at this point. And the ancestor burying Jacko. Linda and David, Sean's parents, are menaced by Jacko. Sean crawls out of the grave, so good for him. And then he stabs Jacko with the wooden cross, which
Uh-huh. Is
destroys Jacko in a spectacular fashion. We didn't need to be reminded about how he was buried in the first place. There was no reason for all of this. He is destroyed by
Jacko,
the
there's no
cross.
reason for all of this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like the effects were
It's
interesting.
the effects were basically like if you had the 1998 camcorder and you were turning on the different effects, it's like, ooh, polarized, ooh,
Yeah,
sepia.
yes.
Like this is just like a sun flare effect or something like that.
Hmm.
And once again, it does not like in the reverse shot, you see no effect, no sign of anything weird happening. There's no like, gels or lights shining on them or color or anything
Right.
like that. It's just, well, in that shot, it looks like they're shooting through a weird filter, but in this shot, they're fine. I dare say, Steve Latshaw is not a very compelling director. That is so much of this movie is just these flat shots with the thing you want to see in the center of the frame,
Hmm.
just like no depth of anything, just like the most boring shots the entire movie.
But you don't think the opening scene with like the jack-o'-lantern to the left of the shot and then the ending scene with the decayed jack-o'-lantern at the right of the shot was effective?
I mean, I liked it in Halloween. Some of the shots may have been a split diopter, but like I think it
No,
was probably
yeah.
just focusing on the middle of the field and just having everything mostly in focus.
Is
So
it
then it
time?
feels like
Go
the
ahead.
movie is empty or empty. The movie is over, right? But we have to get Julia driving to Linnea Quigley,
Mhm.
just stumbling, or not driving, just stumbling upon her in the playground
Yeah.
and being like, "Oh, you're both okay." And then
Hmm.
they walk 5 feet, and then the Kelly family is walking back to their house too. And
Yeah.
then they all just kind of like walk together and
Yes.
joke about something, and then we cut to a shot of Jacko's face.
It's called a denouement.
The denouement.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
It's better.
it's
I also
and,
like to eat croissants.
and Chris sandwiches. And then because we haven't hit our runtime yet, we have
What?
we have our video recap of all the actors in the movie, like with their 5 seconds of screen time, including pretty much the entire screen time of Don Wildsmith played again at the end.
Oh, I didn't see any of this because my husband wanted to see his favorite scene again. So we got to the
It's
credits. He's like, "Oh, let's go back."
just See, I was thinking about the how her phone sounds like a dog barking, and your husband's like just like, wait, I want to make sure she's got proper shower technique, you know? Okay. So I mentioned it briefly
Yeah.
before, but this movie has a relatively famous audio commentary with Steve Latshaw and Fred
Mhm.
Olen Ray, where Fred Olen Ray is basically Mystery Science Theatering the whole time. And Steve Latshaw is getting increasingly defensive about everything and
Oh.
like he's complaining about like, well, you saw the amount of time and money I had with this, and Fred Olen Ray was like, yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that. Jeez.
Oh my God.
So, like, it was even involved in an old interview with Adam Green and Joe Lynch on Film School Rejects, where they decided to end this whole like interview at the Alamo Draft House watching the audio commentary of Jacko. Let's see. I wrote down. I think this is from IMDb. Somebody like recapped it. You can actually watch the highlights of this on YouTube. There's like a 15-minute cut of some of the audio commentary, but it says in the DVD commentary, Steve Latshaw and producer Fred Olen Ray have a lot of tension and hostility. It's pretty obvious there's some bad blood between them. At one point, Ray jokingly refers to a review which called this film a shit pickle, to which Latshaw gets angry and snaps, we discussed this commentary before we ever got into this, and you specifically stated that you would not make any reference to the shit pickle comment. And you laughed your ass off when you told me. You were laughing when you said shit pickle, and as a matter of fact, you said shit pickle more than once. You said, that's so funny. Shit pickle, shit pickle. Well, you know what's so funny to me? You can sit here and do this fucking commentary yourself. And then he stormed out of the commentary. And I'm listening to this, and I'm like, oh shit, this is exactly what happens. And like Fred Olen Ray just thinks this is the funniest thing in the world. He comes back a couple of minutes later
Mhm.
and he's just like, I decided I'm not going to let you ruin my commentary track here. We're going to get through this. And he's a little calmer at the end. But yeah, because Fred Olen Ray was like needling him before that too. It's like, yeah, well, I mean, we did three of these together, and I don't know about the other one, and we don't have the rights to release this one, so this might be your only chance to do a film commentary.
Wow.
So,
Can you send me
yeah,
the link?
yeah, I can send you the link. You can
All
put it
right.
in the show notes or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
It's I will say, despite it being on YouTube, they do have the whole commentary over the Linnea Quigley shower scene.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay, so
s-
yeah, I'll watch it with my husband. He will be so thrilled.
who, yeah, and they're even discussing like, yeah, I don't think this really flows with the movie here. And Fred Olen Ray is like, you got Linnea Quigley in your movie. People are going to be disappointed if she's not naked. Fred Olen Ray is so sarcastic and passive aggressive the entire time. He's like, well, I think this is one of your better movies. Like Steve Latchow's directed like four movies, like one of his better movies.
All right, but Kennedy, what did you think of the movie?
Uh, I feel like this is, if you're doing like a Halloween movie night, this is not a bad movie to have. Like
Okay.
the acting is bad and not much happens, and there are only a few funny scenes, but this is definitely a talk with your friends over the movie sort of movie. It's
Nice.
not it's not like one of the best. Like I think when it was on Red Letter Media's Best of the Worst, it got 0 votes. It was in last place for the worst of the
Oh,
worst.
no.
Although in fairness, though, they did watch, I think, John Thor's Rock and Roll Nightmare
Hmm.
and well, Shark Exorcist, which is actually much worse than this movie, but worse in such a disgusting way that other people were interested in it. So
Okay. All right. All right. Are you ready to rate this movie?
let's do it. Yeah, fucking A.
All right.
How
Um,
Christmassy was this movie, Meredith?
yeah, how Christmassy? Zero Christmassy.
Zero Christmassy. I got it.
Um, in effort. How much effort do you think was put into this, given that all of your research and your behind the scenes knowledge here?
Steve Latcho was trying really hard. He just is not good. So I'm gonna say this is like a 7 effort.
Nice.
This is
Yeah.
people trying.
Hmm.
It's completely underwhelming, but I not for lack of trying. We had a couple of stage actors in here and people without really any acting credits, so it's really a skill issue more than anything, I think.
All right. All right. How about the quality slash production value?
Okay, that's probably like a 5. Like it's passable.
Mhm.
Like it is a 90s slasher, which feels a lot like an early 80s slasher. So only it doesn't have it's weird because it's like a family friendly slasher almost, you know?
Almost.
There's not a lot of gore. There's like just one completely gratuitous shower scene and two boobs otherwise, but like for
Mhm.
the most part, it does feel like, an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? So
Nice. Did it make any sense?
no, this is two and a half. This not this movie doesn't make any sense at all. And the editing is so weird too, because we see, Jacko come back to the Republican's house twice.
Mhm.
We see the bully be afraid one time. Like, okay, so the bully is confronted by Jacko and is afraid, no longer afraid. Confronted by the motorcycle, is afraid. And then later on, like in the very next scene, he is like teasing Sean for something and being afraid of something. Like, like it's all out of order. There's no heightening, there's no build up, there's no anything in this movie. Like, yeah, I think I could probably I can't edit, but I think it could be saved in editing.
Maybe you should try. Give it a
Yeah.
go.
We'll get Topher Grace to do it.
Oh no. Was this movie entertaining?
Not really. Like, I think if you have a crowd, it's entertaining, but if you're just watching it by yourself, it's a strict 5 out of 10. Like, it is just
Yeah.
kind of there.
All right. Yeah. I would have rated it a little bit lower. I was just like, what is happening? Oh my
You wanted more
goodness.
Linnea Quigley shower scenes, I can tell.
You know what? I like, and I don't say this lightly. Linnea Quigley was like giving it her all in the acting scenes. I believed that she was not a babysitter's age, but that she took her role seriously in keeping Sean safe. She forewent for forgone. She gave up her Halloween party to stay the whole night with Sean, even though she really, really didn't want to, but she did it. She didn't have to. She could have abandoned him. And I think it was to a great detriment to the movie that she was just knocked out for like most of the action. That was the wrong move.
So what you're saying is the shower scene was important because it represents her purity, and her purity of soul is why Jacko didn't kill her.
Sure.
That is my A.O. Scott review of Jacko.
All right. Well, what are we watching next time?
Oh gosh, I've got a couple of things. A lot of them are kind of like 2010-ish.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna pick this one just because it's got two of what I know are your favorite words: zombie, pirates.
Ooh.
So this
All right.
I don't know anything about this movie other than it's been produced by Fred Olen Ray, and
Okay.
it looks like it might have a budget of about $50. So we'll see how miserable we are next time on going over our friends. As always, that's been Meredith,
And that's been Michael.
and keep doing those things.
You watching the stars.
Watching the skies and the
Watch the
stars.
skies. Watch the stars. Watch for that supernova that's supposed to have happened already. And like my Google News feed says, like, keep watching.
Is it a red wine one or a champagne one?
A real one. They keep saying it. The star is gonna go supernova any day now. I'm like, I don't
It,
think so.
is it our star?
I
Is it
wish.
over?
Oh
Are we done?
goodness. Right. Frank and I were just watching it's like weird ways the world reality can end, and like one of the weird ways is if um um atoms like crack in a weird way in the middle of a black hole, and it would just like cause oblivion, like a bubble of oblivion to spread outward at the speed of light. And I think that's the best way because you would not know. You would
Oh
know it was
yeah,
coming and there would be no pain. It would just be like, oh, you're gone.
oblivion.
Yes, yes. I forget the real name of it, but nobody ever writes in the complaint about the stuff we get wrong. So, oh well, ha ha ha.
Yeah, yeah. No, we don't get a lot of letters. So
All right, keep watching them stars. Keep watching
yeah,
for
keep
that
watching them
supernova.
stars. We love you all sexually.
Stop it.
No, that's an ICS line. We can't use that. Bye.
Bye.
We did it.
I haven't been able to find the Topher Grace cut of Star Wars. Have you?
I've not looked for it, but I believe you'd probably have to be on the dark web for that.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay. Going Over Our Freds was created and produced by us, Michael Kennedy and Meredith Halsey.
Our theme was composed and performed by Justin Nozick. Find more music for him at Bandcamp. Search for The Plague Physicians.
Artwork by Michael Kennedy. Special thanks to everyone who helped make the season possible, including the friends and family who let us watch these movies instead of this year's Academy Award nominees. And thank you for listening.
If you'd like to hear more from us, subscribe to Going Over Our Freds on your favorite podcast app. Follow us on Twitter at Goof Podcast, and find us on Instagram at Going Over Our Freds.
This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. For questions, comments, and complaints, email us at goingoverourfreds@gmail.com.
Thanks.